Welcome to the Caregiver Relief Podcast. I'm Diane Carbo, a registered nurse, and your host today. Today, we're going to talk about something many people begin to feel in midlife. That quiet thought that shows up somewhere in your 50s or 60s, or even your 70s. I know I have friends that are asking about these things now. Did I miss my chance? Miss the chance to learn something new or to try something you've always wanted to do or to invest in yourself in a meaningful way. And at the same time, there's another question that starts to surface. What can I do now to protect my brain, my memory, and my future? We hear about staying active, eating well, doing puzzles, but there's something much more powerful that often gets overlooked: learning music. Not just listening, but learning, engaging your brain, your hand, your focus, and your creativity all at once. But the truth is, your brain is still capable of learning, adapting, and growing well beyond 50, 60, and even 70 years of age. So today I'm honored to introduce Caroline McCaskey, an award-winning violinist and educator who specializes in helping adults rediscover music through what she calls midlife music. I love this. This conversation is about possibility. It's about protecting your brain, and it's about realizing it's not too late. In fact, it may be the perfect time to begin again. This episode is sponsored by myvitalvault.net, your all-in-one life organizer for aging adults and caregivers. It's designed to help you securely store your essential legal, medical, and emergency information in one easy-to-access place. Because when a crisis hits, being prepared can make all the difference. Join our Caregiver Relief community, a warm, welcoming space where you can connect with other caregivers, ask questions, share stories, and find support from people who truly understand. Visit community.caregiverrelief.com to join now, because caregiving is one of the hardest and most meaningful things you'll ever do, and no one should have to do it alone. And if this episode speaks to you, please take a moment to like, share, or comment. Every click helps us reach more caregivers who need encouragement, resources, and hope. Caroline, thank you so much for sharing this information and joining us today. I'm really excited about this topic.
Thank you so much for having me, Diane. I'm so excited to be here.
Music is so powerful, and it's definitely one of the things I encourage for dementia prevention is doing something new and different every day, going home a different way than your usual route, using your non-dominant hand instead of your dominant hand. There's so many things you can do. And music, I love this. I love being able to learn about music. So, can you share your story that what led you to focus on helping adults, especially those in midlife, learn music?
Absolutely. So I began playing when I was a kid, as a lot of professional musicians do start when they're younger. But I also began teaching when I was very young, when I was 12. Actually, my first student was my orchestra teacher's, my middle school orchestra teacher's chiropractor. He wanted to learn to play the fiddle. And he said, well, I got the student that plays. And so my very first, and of course, who's going to send their 9-year-old for lessons with a 12-year-old? No,
Yeah.
didn't want that anyway. And I discovered that over the course of adding more adults and learning more about teaching, of course, as I go, I have degrees in music and pedagogy training and all of that. And adding more adults to my studio, what I discovered is that one, adults tend to be very underserved in the music learning space. There's a lot of
Wow.
negative associations, like, oh, yeah, like you said, you missed your chance. It's too late. Yeah, which
Yep.
is like absolutely. I want to totally bust that myth. Sorry.
I love that.
I want to totally bust that myth today because it's absolutely not too late. Music is for everyone and at whatever level you can get to. And the other thing is that I really developed a heart for the particular challenges that adults face when they're learning music, especially for the first time. Sometimes I have adults who played as a kid and then took a big break,
Yeah.
decades sometimes, and then came back to it in retirement or in when their kids were older and didn't need as much one-on-one help all the time as they do when they're younger. But yeah, the particular concerns of not just bodies who have had a wider variety of experience than children have had, but also mindset. Sometimes people were told when they were a kid, oh, you can't sing, and that really gets into their head, but they always still really wanted to do it. And so I've just really enjoyed helping people do things that they didn't think they could do.
I love that. I love let's start with the big question. Is 50, 60, or 70 too late to learn music? Obviously, you say no. Explain why not.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely not too late. A few advantages that adults have. One of the major advantages in learning music that adults have is that you have prior life experience. I
Yeah.
can use analogies like, oh, to make your bow go straight, it's staying in the lane on the freeway. You're not going to stop your car on the freeway, pick up your car and move it over to the next lane. You're going to adjust gradually, you put your signal on and so you can make those kinds of smoother adjustments with your bow, just as a little technical example. But even just in general, in terms of they have experience learning other things. A lot of times they had to learn things for their career, or they were in school, or they learned how to raise children, or everybody has just this wide variety of life experience. And that all comes to bear when you're learning something new, for better or for worse. So sometimes we do
Yeah.
work through that. Yeah, it's so that's one advantage I think that adults have. And interestingly, I know everybody says, oh, children learn so much faster. I just really haven't found that to be the case. Maybe it could be that string players select for people who are like ready for a challenge,
Yeah.
because it's known that violin is like a pretty difficult thing to do. It's very worthwhile, but I found that adults definitely pick up concepts in general, like, they pick up concepts quicker. They already understand things about their bodies and space and how physics works and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they're not as likely to just throw their violin across the room necessarily. It depends on the person.
Absolutely, it depends on the person.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I definitely have a student who's an adult who does throw things, but it's okay. We love him.
A child adult or
And
an adult child.
I don't it's a yeah, it's a late in life autism
Yeah,
diagnosis. And
I
so
get that, I get that.
yeah, yeah.
I so get that because I get frustrated when I can't do something, and I think one of the things that when you decide as an adult that you're going to do something, it's because you wanna do it.
Yes.
You are interested in it, and I think a lot of kids were forced to take piano lessons,
100%.
and they stopped as soon as they could because it just wasn't of interest, and many were very good. And as they come back, as they get older, they're like, "Wow, I wished I had" and it's really interesting because it's at those ages when you think, "Oh, I can do something that will surprise my family. I can do something that I wanna do, and I'm gonna work at it," because it's consistency, and if you love it, you'll do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in terms of not just surprise my family, but sometimes serve as a role model, even to go,
Yep.
look at me. I'm still learning.
Yeah,
Don't count me out. Right. Yeah.
yeah. I'd be a shameless opportunist, and I would be saying, "I'm gonna learn so I could play at parties and stuff."
Yeah, totally. Yeah. We all have different reasons. Yeah. Absolutely. And they're
Yeah.
all totally valid. I think that's great. I
Absolutely,
think that's so
absolutely.
great.
Yeah. Now, Caroline, you use the term midlife music. What does that mean, and why is that stage of life so important?
So to me, this midlife, the section of life. And I'm entering this myself. I'm turning 39 in a couple days.
Oh,
So
you old
I'm
lady.
I know. I know. I didn't yeah, all of my boomer students are like they're wonderful. They're like my village, right? They're
Yeah,
the
yeah.
wise women around me and they're like, "Oh, I remember that. I remember that time," and sort of thing. But I became interested in this because at this point I have both the experience of the friends that I grew up with that maybe we were together in band in high school, but then they quit
Mhm.
when they went off to school and stuff like that. And at this point, we all sort of delayed having kids. So they're not quite ready to pick that up again. But I do talk to some of my friends going, oh, all I play these days is Baby Shark for my toddler, but at least I'm playing when I want to put my kid in lessons and then we can like do it together and that sort of thing. But then the idea of also this sort of time period, which I would call maybe the second half of a typical career span.
Yeah.
You might have your kids might be older. You might have a little bit more earning power, maybe to afford like to rent an instrument, which maybe that didn't make as much sense when you were earlier in your career. Or I mean, you may have even inherited a violin and you're like, I don't know what, maybe I'll learn this. I don't know. Or why not give it a try? And so a lot of times what I've seen is that this is a stage of life where people go, okay, maybe what I want matters too. Maybe it
Yes.
does.
Yeah.
And of course it does. It's easy to say that from the outside, right? But
Yeah.
if you spent all this time going, okay, I'm raising kids, or I'm like really putting everything into my job, or I have other concerns, or I'm traveling, or I'm whatever it is that I'm doing to sort of set my life up. And then maybe in the second half, maybe you're caring for aging parents, or you are an aging parent yourself. And you have this balance sometimes of not having being very busy and not having a lot of time, but also feeling bored and unfulfilled in a way sometimes.
Yep.
But not
Yep.
universally, I would say, but certainly my mom got busier when she retired than she was when she worked. So it was like, why would you ever answer? She's like, I'm the one going, how come you're not answering your phone?
I have
Yeah.
I have friends that say, "I don't know when I had time to fill in my day with work." I mean, how did I
Yes.
work with all the activities I'm doing now? So,
Yeah.
and you know what? In all honesty, I'm 73 and I should be retired, and I'm doing this to keep me busy.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So, but I want to talk about what happens in the brain when we learn music after 50.
Yeah, you'll hear people talk about learning music as it's a language, right? Music is
Yes.
a language. It's a like a function of the brain, and you have this chance to actually build and like rewire your brain. You have this opportunity.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's really a beautiful thing because I think for a long time we thought that, oh, after a certain point, it's just all downhill from here. And it's just not. The brain
Yeah.
stays much more elastic if
Yeah.
you it's just like anything, it grows by use, right?
Yeah.
And it is the more you learn, the better you are at learning, and the more fun learning can be for your brain as you make different connections with things. I
Yeah, it actually does increase neural pathways and
it
improve
does.
neuroplasticity. And one of the things that I learned about music in children is it helps them be better math students too.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, and
And
I thought that, and you know what? I used to be really good at math. I really was, and now I'm crap at it because I don't use it every day.
yeah, you
So
got
I think,
practice.
yeah, I gotta practice. Yes, and I'll sit there and do the timetables in my head and stuff like I
Oh,
did as a
nice.
kid, just trying to do math. I had a grandmother. She was in her 80s that could do. You could have a row of five numbers, five across, and she would have the answer in a matter of minutes, like, just ready to go, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I need to do that." So, I try to work on those things. That's why I was real excited about interviewing you, because this is such an important way to not only improve yourself with, something that you like and create have a hobby, but it's good for your mental health, but also it's a dementia prevention tactic you can use. Or
Absolutely.
if you can't prevent dementia, you can slow the progression of it with these types of activities.
Absolutely. In fact, preparing for this interview, I had to brush up. This is something that those of us in the music education sphere, we all know this intuitively. But
Yes.
I was looking at this is on the Harvard Health Publishing site
Mm.
in case anybody wants to dig it up. But there's a study published in the October 2025 issue of the International Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry.
Mhm.
And they followed, I think, a large health study, like over 10,000 adults ages 70 and older. And
Mhm.
and it says participants it says who did not have dementia at the start of the study underwent annual cognitive tests. So they're tracking this over time. And, it's self-reported whether they listen to music or play an instrument. It's in the 39% and 35% lower risk of developing dementia than those who neither listened to music nor played an instrument.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really significant. Those are, I mean, especially in a sample size that big, that's a large number of people.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a
And
correlation, of course, but it's,
oh,
it's
absolutely, and
yeah.
we still don't know so much about the brain. I recently watched a movie about a young man who had an argument with his parents, left it was during the Vietnam War in my era, and he was upset because his he was flag burning and stuff. Anyway, long story short, he leaves his family, only child, and comes back 30 years later, 20 years later, and he's in the hospital, he's unkempt, and he looks terrible, and he has a massive brain tumor.
Oh.
And this young man grew up with music, and they removed a large part of his tumor, and but he had no interaction with people. He didn't have any memory, had no short-term memory at all, and very little long-term memory. And just by pure coincidence, a nurse, he wasn't sleeping one night and put a headset on him, and he got up and he was listening. It was music that her son liked because they were the same age. And he actually started talking and singing and got up. He played a trumpet and he was actually playing music. Now, this is a man who had brain surgery, hasn't had any interaction for a very long time. And now they're finding this. So the family contacted a music therapist
Yeah.
and started introducing different types of music. And oh my Lord, what they learned about how he could grow his memory through music was impressive.
It's I mean, so in my undergrad program, I was a composition major at University of the Pacific. They have an incredible music therapy program. It's one of the best. And yeah, some of the stories that I heard, it was just the way that music will reach someone or can
Yes,
reach someone when nothing else will. And
yes.
whether that's dementia, whether it's, autism, whether it's those sorts of things, it's
Brain injuries,
brain
yes,
injury. Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. I tell this story, I was working on a senior behavioral health unit, and I had somebody come in to play music as a therapy session for people. It was on the weekend, and we don't have those types of didn't have those things, and I asked a friend to come in and lighten things up with music. Anyway, long story short, there was a woman in there, an older Black woman who was catatonic. She had been there for, oh, probably a few weeks, didn't say a word, didn't respond to anything. And I learned from the family, of course, I didn't know about music and memory at that time. And I asked the family what kind of music she liked. And she was a Southern Baptist who loved gospel music. She was in the choir. Well, they started playing some old gospel music, and I will tell you, she started singing.
Oh, yeah.
It just oh my god, the family was shocked, and it was just amazing, and that's what neuroplasticity does, is when you're learning new things, you're growing new neural pathways, and you're expanding your brain so that you have better memory, and you just have a better experience with so many different things, and then that leaves you open. One of the things that I see that we're having with seniors is social isolation is very real,
Yes.
and loneliness is very real. And if people have the ability just to get out to learn music, learn to play an instrument, oh
Yeah.
my Lord, what an incredible thing. It opens up their world to new and different experiences and to other people.
It absolutely does because you develop a relationship with the teacher you're working with. You develop relationships with the people that you go out and play music with, whether it's at a jam session or if that's at
Yeah.
church or it's when chamber music. Then they have all sorts of things for adults. People don't realize they have. There's one of our sort of local things here is a group called Taco. It's called the Terrible Adult Chamber Orchestra.
I love it. I
They
love it.
if they just embrace it, they go, "You know what? Again, music is for everyone, even us."
Yep.
So
Chamber music for me is challenging sometimes, so acknowledging they're terrible, it makes me wanna go to them.
it's a wonderful, it's a like, the vibe is really good. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now, can you tell me why so many adults struggle when trying to learn on their own versus taking a class with others or with just the instructor?
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of factors go into that. I would think one of the more I would say that applies to more different types of musical situations is
Mhm.
different instruments take different sorts of things and feedback to
Yeah.
really learn properly. But I think would say one of the more obvious ones is sort of like having a gym buddy. You want to if other people are expecting you to be in class, you're more likely to go.
Yes.
I think for a lot of us, that's a factor. And then, of course, you develop friendships with other people. Say you're taking a group ukulele class at the senior center or something like that. You guys like do this for weeks and weeks and weeks. You start to meet each other and you start to go,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. Oh, hey, you were telling me about your grandkid. My grandkid started that same sport or whatever. And then
Yeah.
suddenly you have friends that you now have maybe more than one thing in common with, which is really cool.
Yes.
And so being in a community now I have an online academy, Alt Strings Academy, and yeah, people definitely and so it's all online and it's all on Zoom, these live classes, and people come to office hours and they come to our group classes for different levels of string player and they start to see the same people. They start to see, even though
Yes.
they're not, some of them are in Oregon, some of them are in Australia, some of them are in California, some are in like Canada, and they start to see the same people week after week and month after month, and then they start to have it's so funny, like, sometimes they're just not paying attention and they're just having, like, side conversations in the chat, which I love.
Like
I'm
kids in
like,
school.
"Kids?" Yeah. I'm honestly I'm thrilled. I was like, "You know what? You just don't play that scale. Just get back to your friend." That's so
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're all just hanging out and playing music, and so that's a huge motivating factor.
Yeah.
Another thing that makes people of any age, it makes it difficult to learn an instrument on your own, right,
Yeah.
is that you don't have anybody sitting there going, "Okay, you're so close, just try it this way," or let's break it down into smaller pieces, or these sort of things that, especially if you don't have a background in teaching, that you might not know how to break things into their smaller sort of component skills. Whereas as someone, with a teaching background can help you do that. That's one of my favorite things and to do in office hours is to take somebody who maybe started learning the violin or the cello from YouTube or something like that. They found an instrument and they started teaching themselves and to go, "Oh, I've been trying to do vibrato, this technique where it wavers the pitch, right? It's a very
Uh-huh.
characteristic sound of strings, and then they're like, it turns out that they're like doing something with their left hand that's creating tension or something. They would never know that, but like
Yeah.
vibrato is never going to work if they're like squeezing it too hard in a certain way. So of course,
Right.
they have this goal of wanting to sound this way, but for me, I can look at that immediately and go, let's change the position of your thumb and also make sure that it's not squeezing against the side of your hand and things like I can offer them very specific technical advice, very tiny pieces so that they can both be successful. They can feel like, okay, I'm successful at each of these steps and achieve their goal much more quickly. So that's one thing that, again, the one thing that I love, like you were spot on when you said adults are that they want if nobody's dropping them off and going to the grocery store and picking them up afterwards. They're there, they made time in their schedule, they're paying themselves. Not like I
Yeah.
only have one adult student whose mom still pays for her lunch. Yeah, her mom's in her 90s and mom was a church organist and the daughter's 60 something and she's like, yeah, that's what my mom got me for my birthday. I'm like, I love you guys. Can I be you? And I
I
grow up.
love it. I
It's
love
so
that.
good. It's so sweet. And they still have, and the mom is still, I don't know how much organ she plays anymore, but they sing together still.
Yeah.
They have this musical connection across generations, which I think is really
I
beautiful.
think that's beautiful. And you know what else is great for if you start having grandchildren or at around 50 or 60 or 70, depending on how old you
Sure.
were when you got married and had children, and your children had children, if they
Yeah.
did
Sure.
in today's world. It's fun to be able to show off to the kids what grandma or grandpap is doing. And I
Mhm.
think that's fun. The other thing you were talking about, I can see me doing a group class being the one that get in trouble because 'cause I'm talking to somebody else, but I just admit it, okay?
Yeah, of
But
course.
I also be the one to say, "Hey, could we" the person I'm talking with, "Maybe we should practice together,
Yeah.
let's get online and practice together," and there is a competitive side to me. It's not real strong like some people, but if I would have fun saying, "Let's get together to do this," and then it forces me to
Mhm.
be better.
Yeah.
And it also gives me a reason to show up because if I don't show up, I'm disappointing those around me that expect to see me. Because hey, I'm special.
Right, well, for sure.
And they need to support one another. I'm part of a team.
That's right. I know, and I love that too. Like when people stuff comes up, right? That's one of the reasons I structured my academy the way I did. It's like a gym membership, and people can come to whatever they're interested in, and
Uh-huh.
their level and stuff like that. But people will still, even though it's like I'm not taking attendance, right? They're not getting a grade or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they'll put in the comments like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I had to take to the dentist or whatever." But I'll see you. I'll watch the replay, and I'll see you next week, which I think is so great because when I always respond to those, going, "That's great. Like we miss you." I'm not going to follow up with everybody because I don't want
Right.
to make somebody feel bad if something came up in their lives, they can't come to
Yeah.
class for a couple weeks. That's part of the reason I priced it really affordably too. Because if you end up retirees, sometimes will go on trips for 2 or 3 weeks. They don't have to worry about their job anymore. They can go,
Yep.
and then maybe they're only in class for 1 week. So I mean, I wanted to still make it worth it as
Oh,
that, sort of
absolutely.
way. Yeah, because it's important that the sort of instruction that adults receive fits their lifestyle. A lot of
Yeah.
teachers, and for good reason, will require students to come to their weekly private lesson. And if you're not there, you still have to pay for it because you're buying that half hour of that teacher's
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Completely
Yes.
appropriate. That's totally.
Absolutely.
But then that works great for kids who like really need that consistent like adult presence in their
Yeah.
lives. And I've developed wonderful relationships with my like child students that I've started in elementary school, and then they've gone off and graduated and stayed in my studio the whole time, and that's beautiful. But that doesn't really work for adults in general. If the ones that are retired and they're like, I'm making this my thing and I'm definitely, then that's great. That's a really great choice. And I love working with those folks one on one and on a
Oh,
consistent basis.
absolutely.
And we develop a really deep relationship. I get to really know their learning styles and the things that are holding them up and their goals. And as their goals change, and like, how do we change our
Yeah.
approach as they do? I love that sort of work. But for a lot of adults, especially if they're caring for other people in their
Yep.
family or things like that. It's just that's not always, it's maybe they something happened and they can't practice at all or they whatever. So
Yeah.
that doesn't work as quite as well. But having this community aspect
Yes.
around it, and especially for my sites, it seems to be pretty beneficial, particularly for those people who live in the little bit more isolated areas. They love
Yeah.
their rural home, but
Yes.
they can't, they're not going to drive 2.5 hours every week to get to the nearest violin teacher or something like that. So that's, I find it to be a really good solution for that. The other
Well,
reason
I like the solution of an online class for my own perspective is I'm in an area where it's a tourist area, and to drive in South
oh
Carolina
yeah,
and Myrtle
traffic.
Beach,
Woo.
and traffic can be so horrendous, and getting to some places can be challenging.
I
And
live
I've
in
also lived in New York, not in New
yeah.
York City, but in Hoboken, New Jersey, and it took the tram over or the I took a boat over. I will tell you, it's just it takes a long time. So
Yeah.
I
I
like being able to be at home, even in my pajamas, do
yeah,
whatever I'm supposed to be
absolutely.
doing and getting it done and still having fun doing it.
Yeah, look, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I get the traffic. I completely
Yes,
understand
yes,
it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and then about pajamas, I love this one. I'm not gonna call call out his name, but anybody who's listening, who if any of my students are listening, they're gonna know who I'm talking about. My oldest student, and he's somebody that I see week after week, and we can do that because we meet online. He's
Uh-huh.
90. He's my oldest student, and
God bless them.
I know, and boy, the roasting I get if I'm even 1 minute late because we have our lesson at 9 a.m. on Friday mornings, and I'm
Oh,
kind of dragging still at
yeah.
that point. I'm like just pulling up. Maybe I'm still putting my hair in a ponytail, and maybe I answered at like 9:01, and he's, "Oh, I didn't wake you up, did I?" Like, "Oh, man, come on, give me a break. You've been up for 3 hours already."
Well,
Like,
Caroline, you'll appreciate this. I grew up in the dark ages, and when I went to nursing school, we were told if you're 15 minutes early for an appointment, you're already late. So
sure, sure. Well,
I
yes, this particular is gonna totally say who it is if anybody's listening. But yeah, this guy's like
yeah.
he's a retired cardiologist, and he goes,
Oh, there you go. That explains it. And, at 90, he has no time to waste. He wants
"That's
to get the most out of his life as fast as he can.
that's right." And he and I have been working together off and on. I've known him since I was 12 years old. I've been
Oh,
in
wow.
yeah, the fiddle club that I grew up in, and the San Francisco Scottish Fiddlers that I'm now recently made the music director of, which is wild. My 12-year-old self would actually not
Congratulations.
believe
Oh,
that. Thank you.
awesome.
But he's my fiddle club grandpa. So yeah,
Oh,
so I worked with him in between college and grad school, and then after grad school, and then now online. And Yeah, it's just wonderful watching him when he played as a teenager, this guy, and
Wow.
he took a long break. You're not going to get a lot of practicing done in med school.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's just not a lot of violin is happening. And has 3 kids that are adults, and I think it was in his 50s, like, I think it was maybe late 50s, was like, "Yeah, I wanna do this again." And it's of course, it's been decades at that point, but he goes, "Yeah, I mean, this type of guy is totally undeterred. He's just, that's good. We're just gonna do it." And his wife played piano. She's is a very lovely pianist. And so they got to play music together, and they became this fixture in our musical community, and everybody just looks up to them in just the most beautiful way. And I have said I will teach him as long as he wants me to. That's if he wants to keep going, we will keep going. And he
Okay.
is improving. I got to roast him back a little bit at his
Did you
birthday.
really?
Yeah, his son thanks me for doing that. So this kind of joker guy, and he at his 90th birthday, I introduced myself. I said, "Hi, I'm so and so's teacher. Don't worry, he's getting better." And the room all, and then he cracked up laughing, and his son cracked up laughing, and everybody relaxed. That's like you guys know, yeah. So
Well,
that
I
was really
love
fun.
the fact that at 90 years old, he's up on a Monday morning ready for a lesson, and
Yeah.
he is excited and has a love of life
Yes.
that is impressive. That's just wonderful. It just
Yeah.
really is.
This guy's just absolutely incredible. Yeah. And it's beautiful because it's someone, and his wife is also 90, and he's her primary caretaker as well. And but he also has this free clinic that he started nearby, and he's an active Rotarian, and he's always has
Oh
these
my
goals.
lord.
Yeah, so he's just so busy all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, but he always has goals for his violin is part of his life. He still plays at events for the Rotary Club honored him recently, sort of lifetime achievement kind of thing, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna play my fiddle for you guys. You're a captive audience, so let's go." He's good, but he's played for decades. That's the thing people don't realize. I mean, yeah, they say life is short, but life is also long.
I
It's
was
some
just gonna
ways.
say,
Yeah.
when you're talking about midlife, 50 and 60, it truly is because people are living to 100 or beyond now. It's just happening, and it's incredible, and you can still live a productive life if you choose to. And it's the choices that we make that gives us the opportunity to grow. And people that who are like your 90-year-old who are very social and have activities and things to look forward to can live very long, fulfilled lives. I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, it's true. And I think a lot of people, when they think about learning something as an adult, there's this stigma that, oh, it's harder when you're an adult. It's harder to learn. Children learn faster. And like I said, I haven't found that to be the case. The thing that I have noticed though, the people that decide to do something like learn to play a string instrument as adults, they go into it usually with their eyes open. They're like, this isn't going to sound beautiful on day one.
Yeah.
It might sound okay if you have somebody guiding all of your steps, but
Yeah.
they're not expecting to sound like whatever the sound model
Yeah.
for whatever reason they wanted to play. So I think I appreciate that. But one thing that I've noticed about adults is just in terms of so intellectually, yeah, like I said, they often learn faster than children because of their life experience. But physically, of course, there's a lot of holdups sometimes from stiffness or from
Yeah.
past injuries or disease or something like that. Could be any variety of things. And so something that might take a child 30 times, 30 repetitions to kind of get the hang of it, and then they can go home
Uh-huh.
practice. With an adult, it might take them 50 times. Which
Yes.
is
Yeah.
more, that is more, but here's the thing is that they'll go to 40 times. They'll do something 40 times and go, "Oh, I saw that kid, this just isn't for me." And what they don't realize that I realize as a teacher, having seen this over and over again, like you're so close. Don't
Yeah.
quit when you're that like you just have never been there, so you can't see the finish line, but I can, and let me tell you, you are
Yes.
almost there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, if you haven't used your fingers for
Yeah.
and hands for a long time and you really have to build up your muscle strength in your
Yes.
fingers and there's muscle memory and all of that. Just give yourself a chance.
Yes, my philosophy of that's another reason that I really enjoy working with adults because kids, they're everybody's bodies are different, of course, but
Yeah.
kids tend to be flexible and they bounce, but
Yeah.
so they can do a lot of what is sort of like traditionally asked of violin technique, for example. But for an adult, a lot of times arthritis is another one I forgot to mention, but that's
Yep.
very common inflammation type things. And for me, I really have a heart for making physical adaptations for people
Yes.
to make playing possible. That's one of my, I can't believe it took the entire interview or not this interview so far to get to that point. But that's one thing that I just absolutely love. Like I said, it's something about for me, like helping people do what they thought they couldn't do because
Yeah.
maybe they saw a picture of they Googled what's a violin bow hold supposed to look like? How are you supposed to hold it? And then they can't because maybe they were a physical therapist for their career and their thumb is worn out, to use
Yeah.
the example of one of my students. And we can adapt how they hold the bow, or we can adapt, I mean, in some cases, like even switch sides. Like I think like a sort of a traditional teacher might really struggle
Mhm.
sometimes with what to do if they're not used to making all these types of adjustments. Oh, you have a rotator cuff injury. Okay, let's point your scroll back farther, or let's do make this
Yeah.
adjustment with where it sits, or let's move your thumb because maybe you had an accident that I wish I didn't know as much about, but that
Yeah,
just
I know.
maybe. And then your thumb is like in a different place than it was when you were younger. So let's work with that, not against it.
See, I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
You're
I love
willing
it.
to adapt
Yeah,
the equipment to have success, and
yeah,
I know that people don't always get that when they're dealing with somebody older. There's so many people that are teaching music that don't have those skills or that knowledge, so I just love that you're able to do that, and you're
thank
willing to
you.
do it.
Yeah, it's one of like I said, it's one of my favorite parts of my job is this individual creative problem solving. I have actually outlined on my site my philosophy of making adaptations. So there's an open invitation to anybody that's part of my program to go like, if you're in class or something like that, or we're in office hours and we're working together and I say, here, do this. What I'm really saying is try this, and you listen to your body and you go, "Okay, I'm not feeling that today," or maybe that's just not possible for my body. I know that for the following
Yeah.
reasons, or I just discovered that because it hurt. So at that point, then we go, "Okay, now we're gonna think about like how to approach this." So
Yes.
step 1 for that is my job where I go, "Okay, here's the end goal of what I want them to do." And no, and this is where my experience comes into play. Like I know what the end goal is. I know how it's like normally, like typically, like most often done in the majority of cases,
Mm.
and knowing why, because that why part, and that's something that is really difficult to find on your own online, especially if you don't really know what you're looking for and you're trying to teach
Yes.
yourself, then because you might end up adapting something yourself and it will really hold you back later, or it might hurt in a different part of your body. So for me, having a knowledge of ergonomics of playing the instruments is really important. So the step 1 is me knowing, okay, here's like an entire outline of the problem. And then step 2 is going, okay, if what's missing, is it lack of flexibility? Is it lack of
Mhm.
strength? If we've tried the positioning that I've recommended, excuse me, will a different position work? That sort of thing. So like I said, that's one of my favorite parts of my job, which like I said, if you're learning an instrument, you really kind of almost can't unless you have a physical therapy background or something like that, which actually quite a few
Occupational therapy
occupational
background.
therapists. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the keys of the hand for yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's
You
just
know,
what I was thinking about with you. I'm thinking, "Oh, she could have been an occupational therapist too."
one of my first interviews I have interviews with my teachers and other professionals. I
Oh.
have a whole course that's pre-recorded called Playing Without Pain. And
Mhm.
that's one of the very first interviews I did with that as a friend of ours from Fiddle Club was an occupational therapist for her career.
Ah,
And she gave a whole presentation on treating and preventing musician injuries. I'm like, that's great. We need that. It goes beyond, cute and
beautiful.
nice. Yeah. So then step 2 is like, how close can I get with like, if there's stretching, how, is that
Mhm.
something we can develop a little bit more over time? How close can we get in terms of like strengthening, whatever it is that we need to do for that particular thing? Then at that point, we go, okay, cool. We did as much as we can here. Now we change. We're not necessarily moving the goalposts of that
Yeah.
goal, but we
Right.
go, okay, cool. Like, how is it? What is this? What could this look like for you and your body?
Yes.
And I just
Yes.
love that. That's something that I get to do with adults that kids don't have the patience for that, and they also mostly don't need it unless they have, underlying other issues.
And you know what? I will say that adults that really wanna do this, they'll figure out a way, and if they have that love and that desire to learn, And it's so important because not only are they creating new neural pathways and improving their neuroplasticity, they are improving their physical strength and
Yes.
muscles that needed to play, which can actually, with arthritis, can decrease pain with ongoing exercise and use.
Yeah.
And all my life, I've had to tell seniors, and now I am one, "Oh, it's arthritis. You got to get up and move." And I've had men go, "Wah, wah," and I've been sworn at and saying, "Oh, you don't know what it's like." Now I do. And I still make myself, I'm thinking, I've got to pay penance. The Catholic girl in me says, up, time to do penance for all the people I push to do things. But
Yes.
I do learn that once I start moving, I feel
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know so many people struggle with their hands or their shoulders or whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
Caroline,
really a use it or lose it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely,
range of
absolutely.
motion or but yeah, it's
Yes,
really it's
yes,
just really great for that. And
absolutely.
it's a two-sided, a full body, or at least from the core up type of
Yeah,
activity too. And
yeah,
how I mean,
absolutely.
most of us don't raise our arms above our heads
Yep,
enough, that
yep.
kind of thing. And playing a violin, it's not above your head. If you're teaching yourself and you're playing it above your head, okay, maybe let's come talk to me. But yeah, but it definitely, I mean, you might not in regular life hold your arms up minutes or, 10,
Yes,
10 minutes or 20 minutes at a time.
yeah.
It's really good for you and it causes you to take in oxygen because your brain and body are working together. And it's just really good for you in like all the ways that things should be good for you.
And you're making beautiful music eventually too.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about that exactly right on the head, but the idea of learning takes place best when the brain is playing. And it doesn't need to be like
Ah,
playing music, but think about a child who's forced to you're talking about the times tables earlier. If you're sit down,
yeah.
for you will not get up from this table until you know your entire 12 times tables. They're
You
gonna go,
must have lived in my
oh.
house.
They may be frustrated or bored, or maybe they if the a
Yeah.
more like, ingenious child might figure out a way to make it fun, even if they but if they're stressed or I'm gonna do something bad to you every time you don't do this. We don't learn under those conditions. But
No,
if it's
absolutely
yeah.
not.
But if
No.
it's something that the flip side of that coin is when the brain is at play, when it's
Mhm.
having fun, it's making connections, it's like that's when we really learn. That's when we are really able to retain what we've learned. And that's where it makes the biggest difference truly in the structure of your brain. So that's one thing that I love about music is because especially teaching adults, everybody who's there wants to be. And so they
Yeah.
all have that advantage. It's
Yes.
beautiful. I love it.
Yes. After watching that movie, when I saw they turn music on and this young man would become alive,
Oh,
and he was back in the 70s with the Grateful Dead and all of that, and it was very interesting because when they turned it off, he went blank again and didn't have communications. And it's just over a matter of time where they worked with him that he started interacting on a regular basis because they used music. And this is the interesting part. Old music that he loved, he could recall long-term memory.
yes.
But they learned to teach him new memory, to create new memories by learning new music and applying it. So I thought that was such a powerful thing.
Yes. Yeah, the brain is
And
elastic. It absolutely
yes,
even after
yes.
injury.
Even after years of this was a massive brain tumor this young man had. And he was living on the streets, homeless. He wasn't a druggie for over 20 years. And it probably is because of this brain tumor, and his parents had lost track of him. So, it's just music is powerful. And what would you say to someone listening who always wanted to learn but keeps putting it off?
Oh, I would say you are my favorite kind of adult musician. Because you want that sustained
Yeah,
like wanting
yeah,
of doing it means that when you do start, you're not going to give up on the first try.
yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe you're putting it off for, time reasons or money reasons, or maybe it's even just self-confidence.
You know
reasons.
what? The self-confidence, I can say I know so many people that won't even go to an art one of those where you paint something
Yeah.
because they were told they don't have any talent. Well, first of all, that doesn't take talent, but go and have fun, be creative, and, so I love what you're doing and encouraging people. Caroline, how do people find you?
If they wanna work with me in Alt Strings Academy, they can go to altstringsacademy.com. That's ALTstringsacademy.com.
Great. And I want my listeners to know that there will be a permanent page made with links to Caroline. I even put a video up of her playing her fiddle because
Oh,
I came across your video on your site. I thought that is just adorable
thank you.
and it was so upbeat and I thought this is great. So I wanted to share that with my listeners as well. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And I enjoyed this so much because topics are difficult at times, but dementia prevention and learning something new and different is so important. And I love the way you approach music with your students.
Thank you so much. I just had one more thing that I wanted to add to what I would say to somebody who's
Absolutely.
always wanted to play, or maybe they're just hearing us talk now and decided, "Oh,
Yes.
this is a cool thing I could do." Whether it's music or visual art or dance or
Hmm.
theater or whatever, your poetry, whatever it is, scrapbooking that the creative thing that you find and it brings you
Yes.
joy. I just want you to know that you don't need anybody's permission to do that.
Amen. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. I think one of the things that's good about as we get older, I don't care if I make a fool of myself.
Yeah.
People tell me I'm invisible. Oh, they're really not seeing me when I'm doing it.
It's great.
And first of all, if I want to be seen, I'll become a glitter goddess and you'll know I'm there. But I think also that you get to an age where if you want it, you just say, well, I'm damn well going to do it
Yes, do
and
it.
I don't care.
I
And that's a good place to be because if we live our lives for what other people think of us, we're in trouble.
That's right. Amen.
And
That
at
yeah.
73 years old, it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah, I
As a people pleaser, it's not a good place. So I love being able to be strong enough to make decisions and choices and say, well, I can do it if I fail. I always look at failure as I have another step. I've got another step that I can do something better or different and I'll be successful. Yeah.
absolutely. That's one of my favorite then you're on my list now of wonderful role models, but one of my favorite things about working with people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, or even 90s is that I have so many I'm just so fortunate that I have like I said, I'm turning 39 soon. I have so many incredible role models, so many wonderful examples of what aging can be like. This
Yeah.
group of this community that we've built, that we're building is it's so good for me personally. I know it's good for the members too, because they keep coming back and they're making friends. But as a millennial, I have this beautiful view ahead of oh my my senior years could look like this or it could look like that or it could look like this other thing, and there's so many ways to live life, and I'm so blessed to get to see so many cool people that are doing
Well, the
their thing.
boomers are making it happen and they're going to make it
Absolutely.
easier for you.
And I wish I could say speak for my whole generation that we all appreciate it, but I certainly appreciate it. Boomers are some of my favorite people, and yeah, you guys are great.
Yeah.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I've enjoyed this, Caroline. One more time, tell my listeners how to find you.
Thank you so much. My program, if you wanted to start or continue playing violin, fiddle, viola, or cello, it's Alt Strings Academy, ALT strings, like a stringed instrument, academy.com.
Great. And to my family caregivers out there, you are the most important part of the caregiving equation. Without you, it all falls apart. So please learn to be gentle with yourself, practice self care every day, and consider taking a music lesson with Caroline
Yeah.
because you are worth it.